Anytime you want to buy a fertilizer, look on the back. You see this one, you can see is NPK 23.5 plus 2 mg plus 3x plus 0.2Z.
Okay.
Meaning that the nitrogen in this fertilizer, when you come to maize or the cereal crops, maize and rice, they need nitrogen. The nitrogen must be higher than other components.
The last video we talked about organic fertilizer and you explain into details what organic fertilizer is. We promise our audience we're going to talk about the inorganic fertilizer. When we say inorganic fertilizer, what's the difference between the inorganic fertilizer and then the organic fertilizer?
Organic fertilizer is it has a natural nutrients.
Okay.
Yeah, but the inorganic fertilizer is synthetic. It's a manufactured one. Okay. All the nutrients are synthetic. It's not that the natural one that you use the debies or maybe poultry drafts, which is the natural agents, but this one is a synthetic.
So since we know that we have organic fertilizers like the manures and the rest, what are some inorganic fertilizers too that we have?
For the inorganic fertilizers, they are all plant nutrients. That's grouped in two. We have primary nutrients and secondary nutrients.
Okay.
And also microorganisms. When you talk of primary nutrient, when you pick any inorganic fertilizer, you see NPK. That is the illustration on the fertilizer. NPK. The N stands for the nitrogen, and the P stands for the phosphorus, and the K stands for potassium.
Okay.
This picture, you can see the NPK 2010.
Okay.
Meaning that the nitrogen in this NPK is 20, the phosphorus is 10, and the potassium is 10. So when you see NPK 15, meaning that the nitrogen is 15, the potassium is 15, and also the phosphorus is 15.
Okay.
And each of this nitrogen or other nitrogen, phosphorus or potassium has its own advantage for the crop. So they are primary nutrient because when you grow any plant or any crop at the initial stage, there are some nutrients that the plant needs. You need nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. That's why it's a primary nutrient. Okay. When you talk about the secondary nutrients, they are like magnesium, sulfur or calcium, but the plant need the primary nutrient because they are the essential elements that the plant needs. Okay. And it's very important for the plant growth.
Okay, so you talk about plants in general.
Yeah.
But now let's limit ourselves to the maize farm.
Yes.
Or to the maize.
Yeah.
Is that what they also need, or any plant at all needs the same nutrients?
Any plant at all need nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. But when you come to maize or the cereal crops, maize and rice, they need nitrogen. The nitrogen must be higher than other components. Okay. For instance, when you get a fertilizer with nitrogen, maybe 23.5, 20-10-10 or straight to 15-15, is good for the maize because we need the nitrogen in the earlier stage of the plants. Maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks following germination.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the maize need a lot of nitrogen. Yeah, we need that one in a higher quantity. With this nitrogen, it helps the plant to grow very fast.
Oh, okay.
So that are the importance of nitrogen in maize or other crops. The P, which is the phosphorus, is also needed for the plant because it's a critical in the earlier stage because for the phosphorus to help the root to penetrate so that it can absorb the nutrients.
Okay.
It's very important at the initial stage.
Okay.
Yeah. But when it comes to the potassium that you are talking about, it's a very important or essential plant nutrient for the maize or other crops because when it comes to the fruit crops or vegetables, potassium is very important. It helps the plant to develop tolerance against diseases.
Okay.
Yeah, and when we talk of mangoes and fruit crops, potassium too is very, very important because it protects the fruits.
Okay.
It helps the fruit to get its own and natural aroma. Or natural sweetness. So potassium too is very, very good for the crops. If a plant is not having nitrogen or deficiency is in nitrogen, what will happen to the plant? You can see one sign. You see that the tips of the leaves become yellow.
Okay.
Become yellowish. Other maize or even vegetables.
Okay.
Deficiency in nitrogen. That is one sign. And also, it is found in the land that has been cultivated for long time. If the land has been cultivated for long time, you need a lot of nitrogen.
Okay.
Or a sandy soil, you need a nitrogen. So anytime you go to market to buy a fertilizer, it's better to know the type of crop that you are going to use that fertilizer so that you see the components. Because when you are buying for the cereal crop, maize and rice, as I said, you need the one with the highest nitrogen. So if it is NPK, you pick the one with the nitrogen maybe 20-10-10 or 25-10-10 or 23-10-5. Okay. The one with the highest nitrogen is good for cereal crops like maize and rice.
Okay.
Yes. And also when you are dealing with the vegetables, the one with the highest potassium will be good.
So before you continue, You said that a land that has been cultivated on for a long time, sometimes it loses its nitrogen.
Yes,
and it affects the crops.
Yeah.
And so you said that if you want to cultivate on that land, that means you have to get nitrogen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so does it mean that I can, with the maize, I can plant anywhere at all if I have enough nitrogen? With any soil at all if I have nitrogen?
Not any soil at all. But you cannot plant it just sandy soil. You know that you have a land and you cultivated the land for long time. Although there's a nutrient, but because it has been cultivated for a long time, you lose some nutrients.
Yeah.
So you lose a lot of nitrogen.
Okay.
That is why I'm saying that such land, when you are applying the NPK, you look for the NPK with the highest nitrogen.
Okay.
Like the nitrogen will be either 20, 25 or 23. So that it can help the plant at the initial stage to grow very fast.
Okay.
And also we have ammonia, which is 21% nitrogen, and we have one called urea. It's also nitrogen, but the nitrogen content is 46%. That is why in maize production, when you sow the maize 2 weeks following germination, you need to apply nitrogen. Like you need the one with the highest nitrogen, like 23-10-5, 20-10-10, or 25-10-5. So 6 weeks to 1 month, or if you like, when the maize is about to tassel, it needs another nitrogen, which is urea, 46%. If you not get urea, you can use ammonia. Ammonia is 21% nitrogen. Okay. So you can replace that one with urea when you are not getting urea, because nowadays the cost of urea is almost 700 cedis and it's very expensive. But for ammonia, you can get it around 300 cedis. Okay. So that is why in the maize production, per bag, 25 kilo bag. Okay. That is why in maize production, after first fertilizer application, the second fertilizer application will be the one with the highest nitrogen, either urea or ammonia. It's a combination. Maybe it's 23-10-5. Okay. You see, this one you need a NPK with a nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium for the first application. Very good. And the second application, you need only nitrogen, like ammonia or urea, because ammonia is 21% nitrogen and urea is 46% nitrogen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So before we continue, I want you to answer this question for me based on the first video we made on the organic fertilizer. Okay. Somebody asked a question, said from Roman Kojo, please can I ask him, if I decide to use poultry manure, how many bags do I use or do I apply? It means that he decides to use the poultry manure. How many bags should he apply on 1 acre of land? Is it the same as the ones that we sell at the stores, the organic fertilizer? Yeah,
you can use the same 10 to 15 bags as I said. But you know, the manure, at times they pick everything from the poultry farmers. As soon as they clean the farm, then they go and pick. But one thing is, if you are not very sure to, you get a disease called nematodes. Okay, from the manure. From the poultry manure. That is why at times, when you pick the manure, it's better you sieve it. If you have time, you sieve it to remove some unwanted particles. Okay. Because it has not been treated. And as you pick, you know, manure, when the rain fell on it, it came out with maggot and this thing. Okay. So it's very good, but if you are not careful to, you get nematodes on the soil, and it will be very difficult to treat the soil.
So how will it affect the maize?
When you get nematode in the soil, it's very serious disease. Really? Yes, because when you grow the maize, you see that the maize is there and it's dying just like that. So poultry grass is very good, but when we apply, we must be very careful. For instance, when the weather is too hot and you apply and it rains, you see the heat. It will apply a lot of heat in the soil, and at times, if you are not careful, it can either kill the plants or it will cause another problem. So if you want to use the poultry grass, it's good, but apply it before. Then you plow the land or you prepare the land. You leave it for some weeks before you transplant.
So if you want to use the manure, that means that he's supposed to use 15 bags on 1 acre.
Yes. Okay. But as I said, when you pick it from the poultry farmers, it's better you also sit down and remove some unwanted particles, or if you like, you can sieve it and get the correct manure.
Okay, so when you sieve, is it the one that comes out or the one that will be left on the sieve that you use?
You see, the one that come out to you, and the one that will left on the sieve, you see the feathers and the other things. You have to remove all that one before, because when the sick bird dies and the feathers is still in the manure, you see, it's a disease. You don't know the disease that kills that bird, and maybe that disease can also affect a crop that you may not know. That is why at times you want to be very careful. So let's go back to the inorganic fertilizers. You see, when you look at this bag of the NPK, anytime you want to buy a fertilizer, look on the back. You see this one, you can see is NPK 23-10-5 plus 2 mg. plus 3x plus 0.2z. Meaning that the nitrogen in this fertilizer is 23, the phosphorus is 10, and the potassium is 5. And plus 2 is the Mg is the magnesium. That's why I'm talking about the secondary elements. And then plus S is the sulfur, and the sulfur is also a secondary nutrient, and plus zinc, which is the trace element. So anytime you are buying the fertilizer, it's very important to look on the back and see the components of the nutrient that is on the back. At the same time, when you pick this fertilizer too, you will see that it has NPK 20-10-10 plus 3S. That means in this particular fertilizer, the plant nutrient of nitrogen is 20, phosphorus is 10, and the potassium is 10, and 3S is 3% of sulfur, which is also secondary nutrients. Have you seen how the components go?
So that means they added a secondary nutrient
to the nutrients. Because the primary nutrients are the very essential and important element, and the secondary one, whether it's there or not, the plant need it, but in a very small quantity. That is why at times the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium is very important when you are buying any fertilizer. And when you come to the ammonia, you see that the inscription you see is just 21% nitrogen, and the urea you see is 46%. This is a urea, it's 46% nitrogen. Have you seen the difference? For the NPKs, the one with the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, you see the NPK, but the urea, because it's a straight fertilizer, it's just 46% nitrogen, meaning that the nutrient is only nitrogen, and it's 46%.
Okay, so we talk about the organic fertilizer, and now we are on the inorganic. If I want to start maize farm this year, and I apply the inorganic from you, I've got to know that I have to broadcast it before I plow it. So after plowing it, I've started planting my maize. Can I still apply the inorganic fertilizer to my crops?
It's very important.
There's no need again.
You can apply it, but in a small quantity. Instead of using 2 bags of NPK for 1 acre, because of inorganic fertilizer, you can use NPK 1 bag for 1 acre. That's the importance of organic and manure.
So that means you can use the 2 at the same time.
You can use the 2 at the same time.
So what if maybe I find myself in a location where I cannot get the organic fertilizer or the manure, and I have access to only the inorganic, the NPK and the rest? Can I still use only that, or I still have to get the organic in addition to the inorganic?
When you get the inorganic NPK, it has all the nutrients. But for the organic one, we are saying in the situation whereby maybe you don't have money to acquire the inorganic fertilizer, or you are close to a manure, or you have advantage of getting the organic material, is good. But when you get the inorganic, which is NPK, either 23-10-5, 15-15, or 20-10-10, you can apply it without the organic fertilizer. And we have some people too, they do organic farming. You see, when you go to Europe and the developed countries, we have inorganic farmers and we have the organic farmers. When you use only organic manure and organic fertilizers, the yield will not be like the inorganic one, because the inorganic is synthetic. You get a more yield, but when you use the organic alone, you will not get a yield like the inorganic. So when you go to the developed countries, the price of organic tomatoes is higher than the price of inorganic tomatoes, fruit, vegetables, and everything. When you go to their supermarket, we have the organic one and we have the inorganic one. But in Ghana, because we don't have that difference, that is why normally we don't practice. We are all having because when you go through organic, you will not get the yield as you expected, and at the end of the day, you are looking for sales, you are looking for your revenue. That is why we are all going inorganic, or we mix organic with inorganic.
If you have any other question for us, let me know that in the comment section, so that in our next video we'll be able to address that. In our next video, we are going to look at how to apply the inorganic fertilizer so that we can be able to get the yield you are expecting at the end of every harvest. If you haven't watched our previous video on the organic fertilizer, it will be popping up after watching this video. Click on it and go and watch, and then we'll see you in the next video.